I had this wood cutting board. It was heavy and awkward for the kitchen, so my husband sanded it down for me, and I decided I would burn it. Now, I went with words, which was a little difficult for my first large wood burning project, but I managed. I started by just getting some tracing paper the size of the cutting board, and then I marked the center and give an even border around the edge. So once I had my working area, I went into Microsoft Paint and put in the size, and then I put my words using different fonts, and then I printed it off. So once I had it printed, I then measured an equal border around my words, and from there I folded each phrase in half to find my center, and I placed the center along the center of my cutting board. And just give them a couple little pieces of tape to hold them in place. So once I was happy that the measurements were pretty equal and everything was where I wanted it, then I took some carbon paper and placed underneath and traced with a very sharp pencil. I added the extra paper underneath and over because I just didn't want to make accidental marks on my project. And I just continued this, working from top to bottom until I had all of the outline of the letters traced. Once I had all the letters traced, the outline, then I added a few little stencil shapes, which I'm going to add some color to these later. I added a little house, some hearts, a butterfly, and a little coffee mug. So once it was all traced on, it was time to start burning. I just used the tiny uh, pointy tip, and I quickly discovered that burning hardwood was more difficult than softwood, which is the only thing I have previously worked with. It just, you have to go slower, and it is not as smooth, or at least this piece was not. But I just had to take my time and try not to pause, because that will give you those little deeper burn circles. So I burnt the outside of each letter, and then I will fill them in. The first phrase, this home, I'm just going to fill in by circling around with this same tiny little tip. Now, when I got to the word laughter, that font was actually a easier font to do the outline because it was just a little bit of a scribbly, so it actually worked really well with this tip and just going slow. So when I was changing my tips, I was just practicing with it first on a piece of scrap wood. This is just a little piece of softwood. This here is the straight or long line tip, and I decided I would use it to fill in the word love by doing a crisscross pattern. Then for the strong coffee words, I changed to, this is just a little angled oval tip, and I just slowly colored in the whole words with that. Once I had everything all burnt, I decided to add a little watercolor to the little stencil shapes I had put on. So I always have this little bottle of water in my craft room for ink stamps or adding to dry clay, whatever I might need it for. So I wet the little shape on the wood and then added some color. So once everything was done and I brushed it off to make sure there was no loose ash anywhere, I added, this is just a lemon oil to keep the wood from drying out more. I don't plan on using this with food. If I was, I would use a food safe oil like a mineral oil. So I oiled it all over just to, like I said, condition the wood. So for my first big wood burning project, I was pretty pleased with how it turned out. I did make this mistake of holding my wand too low when I was doing the word coffee, F on coffee, and that's one I'll share in my tips for beginners. Because it's a learning process. I hope you enjoyed, and my next wood burning is going to be some mushrooms, and definitely on softwood.